How do you understand that the wheel bearing is bad? Well, first of all, the wheel bearings go bad because the lubricant inside of them may go out. And when this lubricant goes out, it works dry, and when it works dry, you will hear it whining because it starts destroying and it starts vibrating. That's why the wheel bearings go bad. Usually they last about 100,000 miles, 120,000 miles. I mean the OEM wheel bearings. If you buy a bad wheel bearing, it may last 10,000 miles, 20,000 miles, or even less than that. So what are the reasons for the wheel bearings to go bad? First of all, poor road quality. If you drive on bad roads, it's very likely that your wheel bearings will not last even 50,000 miles or something like that, because the stress that the wheel bearings take on the poor road, when you go on bumps, when you go on road pits, the stress is huge and the wheel bearing will not last as long as you want it to. The second factor is poor quality wheel bearing. So the wheel bearings that you buy aftermarket, or maybe you buy them used, I don't know. This is a very bad idea, because the wheel bearing that is not of high quality, that is not OEM, will not last as long as you would like it to last. And also the third factor is bad wheel alignment. So when your wheels are not straight like they should be, but are standing like this, and the load to your bearing is huge at this moment, and if your wheel alignment, it's especially important for your rear wheels, because the coils may sag a little and the wheels go from this position to this position, and what happens, your wheel bearing is under a huge load, and of course they will start vibrating and whining much faster than you may think. So how do you understand that your wheel bearing is broken? First of all, it's whining noise in your car. You hear whining, you don't actually understand where this whining comes from some wheel, yeah, but you don't understand exactly. And you can locate the problem just sitting in your car, driving, and understanding that something is whining. You will hear just the noise, but you will not know from which wheel you hear this noise. This whining comes from vibration. If the bearing is not okay, it starts vibrating, different parts in it starts vibrating, and of course this leads to whining on high speed. First you will hear this whining at about 60 miles per hour and up, so the speed should be quite high, and you will only hear it on highways. But when the wheel bearing goes worse and worse, you will hear this noise in the city traffic. You would hear it at 30 miles per hour or even less than that. But how can you understand which exactly wheel bearing is causing these problems? Well, there are a couple of things you can do on your own without going to the dealership or repair shop. First of all, you can go to the highway and accelerate to about 60 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour, and then you will find some slow turn, let's say on the left. And when you go into this turn on the speed about 55 miles per hour, you may hear that the whining noise stopped. So when you turn right and this noise stops, it means that the right side bearing is in charge. When you turn left and this noise stops, it means that the left bearing is in charge. You can't understand if it's a front bearing or it's a rear bearing by this technique, but at least you will understand the side. When you know the side, one thing you can do is to jack up your car near one of the wheels and just rotate this wheel. You shouldn't hear any noises. Of course you will not hear this whining, because the whining comes on the high speed, but you shouldn't hear any noises when you do this. When you rotate your wheel and hear the noise, it's like a sign that something is wrong with this wheel. It's not exactly the bearing, but there is a chance, as you hear the whining on the high speed, there is a chance that these noises are made by the bearing. Also, you may try shaking this wheel. So when the car is jacked up, take your wheel from both sides and try shaking it. When you shake it, if you feel any free play in this wheel, this is the 100% sign that there is a problem with the wheel bearing, and your car shouldn't even be driven like on a high speed or whatever. Now, what you should also know about the bearings is that you shouldn't replace both bearings on both sides if one of them is faulty. It's a myth. A lot of mechanics will tell you, oh, you need to replace both of them because the other one will also be faulty in like 10,000 miles. It's not true. When the wheel bearing is whining, you should replace it. If it's okay, if it's not whining, don't replace it. Don't spend this money. Unfortunately, you can't just ignore this problem. This is a really big problem and it will escalate. You can drive for some time. You don't need to call a tow truck once you hear some whining noise. But you can't ignore this problem and keep driving your vehicle. If you do this, there is a chance that your wheel may lock up. Because the bearing will lock up, and this may lead to an accident. This easily can lead to an accident. Mechanics will say that there is a chance that your wheel will fall off. I don't know, maybe 1 in a million chance, but it may lock up, and this is quite a common thing. Also, this is not an easy DIY repair, unfortunately. So if you diagnose your car with the bad wheel bearing, the best thing to do is to go to a good mechanic and let this mechanic fix this car for you.